o'clock Eastern Daylight Saving Time on the East Coast. My name is Irv Homer, and this is the Wednesday edition of the Irv Homer Show, September the 17th, and we welcome you to our show. We welcome new listeners and emails that we receive from folks who are now discovering that Irv Homer is not dead but alive and well, doing this program Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, to be extended in the near future with great plans. Ladies and gentlemen, it will boggle your mind. This thing is taking off more than I anticipated, and so we're going to have to turn it into a semi-professional operation. Thanks to RGH Computer Services, my son Ron, and his technical skills, we're putting this thing together and doing a fantastic job of it. We thank you for being so gracious and listening not only to the program when it's live, but for going to the archives, and each program is archived with the date that it was done, so you can, in your leisure time, pull it off and make it available, listen to it, and learn a little bit. I had the pleasure today, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, incidentally, let me give you the phone number of RGH Computer Services for all your computer needs, ladies and gentlemen. Setting up this type of program, we may even make this available to you advertisers to come into the studio and do your own show. So we've got many plans for brokering time. So if you're an advertiser, if you want to come in, do the program yourself, without my interview, we'll get you the time slot that you want. You do your own program with the assistance of our technical staff here at the Irv Homer Show, broadcasting from irvhomer.com. Let me give you my website, and it's www.irvhomer.com. Email address is evilerv@irvhomer.com. We want to welcome Lorraine Mazzio and her daughter, who I haven't heard from for a long time, but it was a delight receiving your email. And to, let me see, have to put the specs on, folks. You'll have to excuse me for a minute. Hearing from Edward R. Garrity from Lancaster, Pennsylvania, and, of course, many others that we have in our file. So keep those emails coming, and we thank you for your support and your interest in the program. I had mentioned that in the future we will be having special guests on the program. We will have confirmed, the dates are not confirmed yet, but Mark Howard, formerly of Channel 6 and Channel 3. Mark Howard is a senior reporter, newsman, quote, from that liberal media everybody complains about. Spoke to Mark this week and he said, Irv, for you, you got it. So prior to the election, we'll have Mark on, and you'll be able to get questions answered by Mark on his opinion for many years in broadcasting elections through his entire career from radio through his great successful career in television. Also, today we had the pleasure of having lunch at the Broadcast Pioneers, which is a group of broadcasters. At one time, you had to be 25 years in the business to belong to Broadcast Pioneers, but they opened it up to the audience and the membership of people that are connected with the broadcast industry in any way, public relations people, advertising agencies. And so we have a luncheon once a month at the Ballot Country Club, and Ron and I were there today, and they had the 5 leading weather people on the show today, and it was Tom LeMaine and Herb Clark, and what was the gentleman's name in the middle? I forget.
Hurricane Schwartz.
Well, Hurricane Schwartz was there, and Kathy Orr and Sue Serio, but the gentleman that was in the that does KYW and that does new weather all over the country, and I do apologize. And of course, the moderator was a gentleman by the name of Les Waz. Les is a very dear friend. Les was the gentleman that started the International Procrastinators Club. And also, it's subbing as Congressman Schwerbutz from South Dakota. Elliot Abrams. Elliot, I apologize for not remembering your name, but it was a great informative panel on how television weather is put together, and of course Les was a real professional in the business, was just absolutely hilarious. And to the entire panel, it's Elliot Abrams and Tom LeMaine, Herb Clark, and Kathy Orr and Sue Serio. You guys were just a delight, and it was a delightful luncheon. But while there, we had the pleasure of having lunch with Cal Rudman. Cal Rudman is the editor and publisher of Friday Morning Quarterback, which is a international publication on music of every type. Cal was quite a unique guy. We grew up together at 7th and Franklin. We went to the Fitzpatrick, or we went to the, what the heck was that school we went to together? Anyway, Cal is very successful and considered to be one of America's leading philanthropists. But Cal knows the business, the broadcasting business, knows the music business, and is very successful. And Cal has donated motorcycles to the Philadelphia Police Department. He's a real guy who gives back to the community. Just donated $1.5 million to Temple University to open up a television school there for broadcasting and cooperating with Drexel University. And him and his wife are just great folks. Les Wass will be a guest on the program, and he'll tell you why we should dig a tunnel. Oh no, we're going to build a canal from Atlantic City to Los Angeles, right through the United States. We'll have our own canal. We won't have to worry about the Panama Canal. Congressman Schwarbitz is very committed to that. I think it's going to cost $900 trillion. But he said it's chump change because there'll be, well, he'll tell you when he's the guest on the program. And of course, we'll have Bill Kearney back again, the fellow that wrote the book called Comped. He'll be on this Friday, bringing you up to dates on the casino locations here in the city of Philadelphia and the fighting that's going on at the gallery. Bill's right up to date on that. We will have Pearl Poulter on. Pearl will be coming on. I don't have the dates. Yes,
Monday the 22nd.
Wait a minute, I have him here someplace, gang. Don't go away. Pearl is a credit expert. Pearl will be on Monday, September the 22nd. Pearl is an expert in the field of credit, recognized throughout the country now as how to prevent from getting into trouble, games that the credit card companies play, games that credit can cost you a lot of money, and she'll be on as our special guest on Friday, September 26th. Valerie Morrison, world-famous psychic, will be making a return appearance on the Irv Homer Show. So we've got some good folks lined up in the future. We also have a chat room where you can send your questions in right now if you can. Oh, incidentally, Dr. Molly Fantasia will be our guest. Also, we haven't booked Molly yet, the doctor yet, but Molly was instrumental in my chelation therapy over the years. And she'll be on the program explaining to you exactly what chelation therapy is and why I'm a strong advocate of it. I'm 84 years old, be 85 in May, and still going strong. And owe a lot of it to chelation therapy. And we were at the Broadcast Pioneer Luncheon today, so a lot of men and women that I worked with over the past 40 years in my broadcast career, and could not believe, A, I was still alive, and B, I looked as good as I do. So all of that is coming up in the future on the Irv Homer Show, ladies and gentlemen. Let me remind you once again that on my website, get a copy of this. It's called the Electoral College. We're coming up close to the election, and you hear the people on television now explaining what states the candidates are going for. Which state has the most electoral votes and which states don't have the most electoral votes. And a lot of folks are saying, well, what the heck is the Electoral College? Do they have a football team? I don't know. So you can get a copy of this right off the website. It's entitled The Electoral College, 5 questions that are asked the most. Like, what is the Electoral College? How are the electors chosen? The election of president and vice president, in the case of no majority, and the winner-take-all method. And it is a fact sheet on the Electoral College. It would pay you to get it, get a copy of it, learn about it yourself, teach your kids about it so they'll be up to date on school when they go to school. And that is available on my website at www.irvhomer.com. And to the meat of the story today, you know, when I retired from broadcasting, after leaving a Republican-owned and operated radio station in Bucks County, WBCB. And, well, actually, when I left, when WWDB changed its format in the year 2000, right before the election, I said, I don't need all this junk, all these notes. So I had a bunch of attaché cases, you know, look real important. I always wanted a job where you have an attaché case or you walk around with a clipboard. You ever see somebody, they always walk around with a clipboard, look real important. So I always wanted a job where you needed an attaché case or a clipboard. Well, over the years, I've accumulated a lot of attaché cases. And so I put a lot of stuff in the attaché case. I said, look, our memorabilia, whatever it is, you put it away, forget about it. And so I put it in my garage. And of course the exterminator managed to shoot it full of stuff. I said, let me go through some of this stuff. Maybe some of the programs that I did in the past would apply to today's problems. And by golly, I found out that the oil companies have been screwing us for years, not just recently. And listening to Cavuto and O'Reilly Tuesday night was a disgrace, because these two men knew absolutely nothing about what the hell the oil companies have done to the American motorist in the past. And let me review the bidding, if I may, ladies and gentlemen. I always look for, in my broadcast career, the people that were introducing things of interest that affected me and the biggest percentage of my listeners. And had the pleasure and privilege of meeting two gentlemen from the Independent Service Station Dealers Association of the Tri-County area, namely Pennsylvania, New Jersey, and Delaware. Tom Wisda was the president at the time of the Tri-State Independent Service Station Dealers, and I believe Tom Armstrong was the president of the Pennsylvania chapter. And this started when I found out about the original emissions testing. And John DePremio joined me with Citizens for Common Sense, and we fought the emissions system as an afterward of getting in touch with Tom Wisda, who was the president of the Tri-State Independent Service Station Dealers Association. And for those of you that remember, when you went to get your gasoline, they wiped your windshield, you had a flat tire, there were 2 or 3 bays where you drove your car in, you could get it greased, have a tire fixed, have a tire changed, have your windshield wipers changed. And the independent service station dealers bought their gasoline from Sunoco, BP, Exxon, Mobil, blah, 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 blah. But they were independent service station dealers. And they operated on their own. They owned the ground, they owned their tanks, they owned their businesses. And they were there to serve you, the public. And so and they inspected your automobile. Well, then they were required to put emissions testing in. Now, the state of Delaware, the state does the inspections and does the emissions testing. The independent dealers at that time didn't do it. State of Delaware, and I don't know whether New Jersey does it. I think New Jersey has a New Jersey state inspection system too. Be that as it may, Tom called the program once and explained what the oil companies were doing to the independent dealers. And so I said, Tom, why don't you come into the studio and come on the air, and we'll alert my listeners as to what's going on with the oil industry and the gasoline industry. This goes back, folks, into the 70s. This was basically after we had that oil crisis in 72, you know, and we're shooting people standing in line. And what I discovered from Tom and getting involved with the Tri-State Association of Independent Service Station Dealers, the oil companies were determined, the gas companies and the oil companies were determined to put the independent service station dealer out of business. That's right. They were determined to put them out of business. And how did they do it? They bought the stations from the mortgages that the independent service station dealers had, and they would foreclose on them, and the oil company ended up owning your gas station. And so you had your 2 or 3 bays where you did service. Then the oil company said, well, if you want our gasoline, let's take Sunoco, Mobil, Gulf. And what we'll do is you must sell our TBAs. What are TBAs in the business? Tires, batteries, and accessories. In other words, you want to be a mobile dealer or a Sunoco dealer, we will only sell you our gas if you sell our tires, batteries, and accessories. Wiper blades, inner tubes, balancing equipment, oil, grease guns, everything had to be purchased from them. And that was the beginning of the destruction of the independent service station dealers. And it got worse. In neighborhoods where nobody wanted to be open late at night, the oil company said, you will be open 7 days a week, 24 hours a day with 3 shifts, and you will supply your own security, or we won't sell you our gasoline. Which meant they would take all the signs down, and you had to go out as an independent service station owner and buy gasoline on the open market. So you never knew what kind of gasoline you were going to get. You bought it from independent guys, and the independent guys were buying all the junk that was left over from the 6 major oil companies. And that was another nail in the coffin of the independent service station dealer. You will operate 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. Well, that meant adding another shift. It meant being subjected to being stuck up at night, coming out, pumping gas, checking the oil, checking your fan belts, checking your windshield wiper blades, collecting money. Then the oil company said, well, you know what? We're going to fight for you, the consumer. And what we'll do is make all the gas stations self-service. So that you folks, we motorists, are going to save a lot of money by pumping our own gas. And Boobus America bought that. You guys bought that. Hey, we're going to pump our own gas. We're going to save money on pumping gas. And so they started the you pump it yourself. They had self-serve and they had full-serve. And you paid a couple extra pennies for full-serve. Then they said, that's not good enough. We want self-serve only. And so they developed self-serve. So that you could be wearing your Sunday suit going to church, synagogue, or mosque, or wherever you go, going out for dinner. You're all dressed up, and everybody had to learn how to pump gas themselves, on the assumption that you were going to save money if the service station dealer didn't have to supply you with the service to fill up your tank, maybe wipe your windshield, maybe say, hey, your front tire looks low, bada beep, bada boom, da bum. And that insidious needle, and I was screaming on the air, and Tom was on the air. Tom Wisdom, my dear friend, who I really should call and see how he is, and Tom Armstrong, I think Tom passed away. But there were those independent service station owners, oh, it's a good deal. It's a good deal. We won't have to run out in the bad weather and the snow and the rain, pump gas and all. Then the oil company said, you have to put a cover over it so that the suckers that pump their own gas won't get wet. The oil companies didn't pay for those covers. You paid for it yourself if you were an independent service station dealer. That wasn't good enough for the oil companies. Thanks to you boobuses who allowed this to go through, this gradual encroachment. And then they got together with the automobile manufacturer and said, unless you get your car serviced at the automobile dealer, the warranty's no good. Well, that practically killed the auto repair part of its independent service station. practically killed it. So who did they get to work on? Older cars. The older cars wouldn't pass the emissions test unless you spent $250. And then if after you spent $250, if the car still didn't pass the emissions test, they said, okay, drive it anyway for a year and have it retested a year from now. So the poor people who could not afford new cars under warranty, or the second car that you bought for your wife or your child while they were going to school, was stinking up the pollution but costing you $250 a year, even though they knew that they could never get it to meet the emission standards. And you accepted it. Why? Because you're going to pump the gas yourself and save money. Liar, liar, pants on fire of the oil companies, and you bought it. So now your wife, your daughter, maybe you go out and get a flat tire in the middle of the night. So you call one of the travel clubs, one of the automobile clubs. And you sit and you wait and you wait and you wait and you wait. Then you buy a car and it says, call this 800 number for roadside assistance. But the independent service station dealer, who was your local friend that you could call up and say, Bob, I can't get my car started. He sent his service truck over, gave you a jump, the car started. No, you got to wait for Keystone AAA, Mobile Dakota Club, DARP Club, somebody's club, pay $100 and some a year to have a tire changed. Because you people wanted to save money by pumping gas yourself. I remember I was interviewing Congressman Florio, and I was leaving Northeast Philadelphia to go to the station in Ballackinwood. And I had a 89 Lincoln town car at the time. I think it was around 90, 91 when I had this car. And I was running late, and so I floored that sucker at Oxford Circle, right before Oxford Circle. I think it was large in the boulevard. And I blew a water hose. And that car looked like, woo, smoke all over the place. I got off the center lane over to a Sunoco station at Oxford Circle. Figuring maybe somebody can help me there, and sure, they had gas pumps, but the guy wanted to sell me pretzels and a Coke and a chocolate bar and a lottery ticket. He didn't know nothing about changing hoses that broke on my car. I get on the phone and I call the radio station. Walt McDonald at that time was flying traffic for one of the traffic services, and they said, we'll pick you up by helicopter at Oxford Circle and fly you to the radio station. I said, great, as long as I get there. Congressman Florio's coming in. Excuse me, Governor Florio. He was governor. I didn't want to disappoint him, but just at that time, one of the traffic reporters heard the helicopter talking to me, and they came and picked me up by car, and they ran me to WWDB in Ballackinwood. So there my car was sitting with pretzels and potato chips and Coke and lottery tickets. And I had to call Lincoln Mercury and get him to haul my car out of there to put a busted water hose on. That little hose. Wasn't one of them big ones, it was one of my little ones. So I'm really aggravated at the time, and of course I don't even remember interviewing Governor Florio. I was so angry. I'm used to going into a gas station. It's got a couple bays in it. Well, the oil companies were finally able to drive every independent service station dealer out of business in the state of Pennsylvania. And so now you pump your own gasoline, check your own oil, put air in your own tires that they charge you for. What do you put a quarter in for 50 cents and run around real fast and hopefully you got the right amount of air in your tires? And in New Jersey, which is against the law for you to pump your own gas, the gasoline is cheaper than the state of Pennsylvania. And it was because you boobus motorists Didn't listen to the Tom Wizders or the Irv Homers or the other people on the radio. Or the Premio or Citizen. You didn't care about us. Oh, it was great entertainment. Irv. Blah, 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 blah. So now pump your own gas. Put your credit card in. Frank Ford, one of my colleagues on the radio station, getting gas once at Broad and Spruce. I think the guy came and swiped his $20 out of his hand. He ran away. He's the husband of the district attorney of Philadelphia, Lynn Abram. You want to get gasoline 2 o'clock in the morning with a credit card in some of the neighborhoods in Philadelphia, Trenton, Dover? Huh? You asked for it yourself. Because the oil company stockered you thinking you were going to save money if you pumped your own gas. As I said, I went through my archives and dug that up, and I said, my God, I forget the battle that I fought for the Independent Service Station Dealers Association. There's one station in Independent, in Levittown, I believe, who just shut his pumps down. He says, I'm not going to sell gas, I'm just going to do service. There's one, I think, at Philmont Avenue and Huntington Pike. Has a big sign there. We do repairs only, no gasoline. This is what the oil companies did to the Independent Service Station Dealers Association.
We have a question.
Okay, we have a question on the chat room. You can get on board if you care to. And the question is what, Ron?
It's from Rick from Doylestown, Pennsylvania.
Right.
Do you think that now that Wawa is selling gas that it is hurting the big six oil monopolies?
Rick from Doylestown says, do you think that Wawa selling gasoline now will hurt them? No, because the 6 big monopolies are selling Wawa the gasoline. There's only six refineries that wholesale the gasoline out, and those refineries get their oil from the 6, what they call them, the 6 sisters. So it makes no difference what you're probably paying $3.43 a gallon for gasoline from Wawa that you'll be paying $3.59 for at a station that sells Gulf. It's probably the same gasoline. One buys it wholesale and one doesn't. One may have a deal where they can only sell Sunoco gasoline, and that's they own the station. So why should they worry about the price of gasoline? They own the oil companies. They own the tankers, they own the refineries, and they own the stations. So they control all 5 entities of the industry. Why should they worry about you? They only talk about the profit on oil. They make a profit on every Hershey bar they sell, every Coke they sell, every peanut brittle they sell, every chewing gum they sell, every lottery ticket they sell. So the oil companies, by controlling and owning the gasoline stations, make $1 gazillion of profit on the auxiliary stuff that they sell when you go in there. The milk, the bread, the tasty cake, the donuts, the sandwiches. So their profit, you hear about these exorbitant profits, it's not only that. They make a profit on everything they sell. They control the market. Now I can equate that, ladies and gentlemen, from the movie industry. And Ronald Reagan, who at one time was a liberal, before he became president, allegedly as a conservative, Ronald Reagan was instrumental in breaking up the movie industry monopoly. And the movie independent monopoly was this. The movie studios owned the actors and actresses. They could only work for that studio. Warner Brothers, they had every actor and actress under contract. Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer, Warner Brothers, Universal International, Goldman. Then they owned the theaters in which they showed the films that they made, where they owned the talent. They owned the theaters. They owned the concessions. They would put into the theaters the films that they wanted to place in strategic locations, whether you liked it or not. And if you were an independent theater owner, similar to the independent service station dealer, you got the B movies. You didn't get the A movies. And so Ronald Reagan, when he was head of the Screen Actors Guild, SAG, liberal that he was at the time, broke up the monopoly of the movie industry, so that the actors and actresses no longer were owned and controlled by the film producers. They were on the open market as talent that would make a movie whoever gave them the highest bidder. And they broke up the monopoly of O&O, so that a lot of the theaters became independently owned and operated. Now we're back to monopoly again. We've got 7 theaters owned by one company in one location. But that's another story that we'll get into sometime in the future. And ladies and gentlemen, that's why the people in Hollywood are liberal. They remember when the conservative movie industry was owned and controlled by the monopolistic corporate owners of the movie industry. And it was the liberal Ronald Reagan, who was president of the Screen Actors Guild, that broke up that monopoly. And so those people that were in the business today in Hollywood, Hollyweird as it's referred to by the numbnuts on radio and television that don't know their ass from a hole in the ground, that's why they're liberal. Because they remember when their talent, their salary, their life was controlled by the movie makers and their companies. You know, folks, there's a reason for everything. And when you've lived as long as I have and done the research that I've done in my career, you'll understand why things are happening the way they are. So when you own the oil fields in the Middle East and are in bed with the potentates, Saudi Arabia, Yemen, all those countries, you own the tankers, you own the gas stations, you own the trucks that deliver it, you own the peanut brittle that you buy when you get gasoline. They get it cut on the lottery tickets that they sell. Why shouldn't they stick it up your behind? Who's going to stop them? Did you pay any attention to Irv Homer, Tom Wizard, Tom Armstrong when I was screaming on radio? Maybe that's why Irv Homer is not on radio today, because he knows too damn much. The boobuses that are on radio today know nothing about the movie industry. Know nothing about how and why. If my wife takes her car out and gets a flat tire, it's panic time. But if the little service station on the corner had a bay, could fix a flat tire, could change a hose if it broke, I'd feel a lot more comfortable. Now I have to pay $165 a year for 3 cars in case any of them get a flat tire, so my wife and my son won't be deserted on the highway. And it's out of fear that you belong to these automobile clubs that promise everything. Discount on cruise. I want somebody to come that when I have a flat tire, I know there's a guy in the gas station, can bring the jack out, jack it up, take it off, put it on, take it. So we the public, you the public out there, because I fought for you. And I can't give you the name of one politician, Republican or Democrat, that fought to save, Clarence Bell. Representative Clarence Bell of Delaware County was at every meeting, every banquet, fighting for the independent service station dealers. And his name should be revered by every motorist in the state of Pennsylvania for the work that he did to save the independent service station dealer. Sure, Tom Wisner had a vested interest. He had 2 Gulf stations in Delaware County that he worked hard to build up 7 days and 7 nights a week passed them on to his sons to be screwed by Gulf, to be screwed by Sunoco. The Sunoco station around the corner from me that now sells pretzels, peanuts, and gasoline. When I first moved here to Bucks County, I had a relationship with Bob Hansberry. Called Bob. Bob, I got no problem. My neighbor called, no problem. Sent the trucker. He came over. His sons were in the shop. Bob has passed away. Aggravation from Sunoco. They bought the ground, bought the station. He said, Irv, I got to get out of here. I said, why? Guess what? On the corner of Street Road and Central Avenue, what he was paying at the time he retired to Sunoco Gas. $7,000 a month rent. When he opened up his gas station on the first of the month, he was $7,000 in debt to Sunoco, who dictated what kind of tires he'll sell, what kind of batteries he'll sell, what kind of windshield wiper blades he'll sell, what his hours of operation would be, what his inventory is going to be, how much he will charge for emissions, and what equipment can he put in his place for hydraulic lifts, etc., etc., etc. But did you people pay attention? No, you pay attention to some moron on radio today that don't know their ass from a hole in the ground because they're against abortion. And what the hell are you men worried about abortion? You ain't never going to get pregnant. It ain't none of your damn business. Because the woman's the one that's got to carry it, but that's another story for another time. So we, the public, not me, not Tom Wisdom, not those, not the premios, not the guys that were in the forefront of putting a stop to the monopolistic terrorism. It was terrorism is what it was, of the major oil companies that drove the independent service station dealer out of business. And now you're bitching and complaining. I don't know of any service station operator, with all due respect, and I'm not politically correct, that even can speak English when you go in to pay for your gasoline at a station today. Think he gives a damn about whether or not gas is $3.75 a gallon? He's selling peanuts and popcorn and tasty cakes and Entenmann's crimpets. They don't give a damn about you. I'm glad I didn't throw some of that stuff out. Once again, my name's Irv Homer. I'm not angry, I'm just frustrated. I'm frustrated because I broke the code a long time ago. And that code is, ladies and gentlemen, how not to be screwed. Okay? I broke that code. And it's time that you learned it. At least if they screw you, they should kiss you. They don't even kiss you anymore. So when you pump gas the next time, think of how much money you're saving. Because you're pumping it yourself. And that peanut bar, that windshield wiper, whatever you buy in that Gas and Go, that Sunoco Superstore, they're making money. Why don't they give a breakdown, ladies and gentlemen, of what their profit is on oil and their profit is on food? They commingle it together, and that's their profit. Anybody that buys anything in a gas station is out of your mind. Because while you're bitching about the gas that's going in your tank, you're giving them an additional profit on the stuff you buy in the store. Get the fuzzballs out of your head and use your brain. Well, this week we've had some The President of the United States, George Herbert Walker Bush, said that the stock market is making a minor adjustment. The fact that $700 billion has been lost, today the market dropped an additional 400 and some. It's just a minor adjustment. The fact that you lost money in your 401k, the fact you lost money in your IRA, the fact that you lost money in your stock portfolio, it's a minor adjustment. Don't you people believe honest? Now you look at the face of our president. Does he look like a dishonest man that would lie to you? It's a minor adjustment. This happened a long time ago. Of course, John McCain, our economy is basically strong. Well, John, you probably get about $4,000 a month veterans pension. You probably make a nice salary being a senator. You were part of the Keating Five when the SNL scandal blew up. Why don't you talk about that, John? We have no choice in this election, in my opinion, of any viable candidate whatsoever. None whatsoever. But the most vulnerable is something that Bill Maher said the other night. We had Bush 1, we had Bush 2, we got John McCain and Sarah Palin. We're going to have Bush 3. Let me tell you something about Sarah Palin. As you know, some of you folks may know or may not know that at one time I owned 3 bars in the city of Philadelphia. I had one in particular near the old Cambria, the fight ring down on Kensington and Cambria Street. Had some pretty good fighters in there. And there was always a bully that came into my place. This one guy came in, thought he was the toughest, meanest kid on the block. So one of the Lowry brothers popped him one night. If you think that Sarah Palin, the toughest, meanest maverick on the block, is going to save you, I've seen tough guys on the block get knocked on their keister by the little quiet guy that don't say anything. I do not want that woman anywhere near the White House. Oh, she may cater to your biases and your prejudice, and she's tough, and she's a tough mama, and I took on the confidence. I thought, oh, garbage, lady, you didn't do crap. And as time goes through, you'll find out what a blowhard she is. Little pipsqueak in a state where the population of the city of Philadelphia is more than the whole damn state. You get into the international arena, Sarah Palin, they're going to take your pants off. You're going to walk around without your pants and your bra, and you're going to say, what happened to me? Why don't these people adore me the way the American people do? So my question to you is this. Let Sarah Palin go around the world the way Barack Obama did, who was idolized, adored, respected, drew thousands of people. Let her try the same thing. Those countries won't have enough security to keep her alive. We're globalists, whether you like it or not. We're internationalists, whether you like it or not. And we got to deal with the meanest, rottenest people in the world. But you can't tell them to their face they're rotten. You got to be smarter than they are. And she ain't that smart. She's a head-to-head confronter, and she ain't going to be worth a hoot in hell in the White House. And John McCain right now is a puppy dog wagging his tail in back of her skirt. The Democrats have a great opportunity right now to take over the lead by dumping Joe Biden and convincing Hillary Clinton to run for vice president of the United States. And not make Hillary Clinton as the vice president, but almost make her a co-equal to Barack Obama, if Barack Obama fears that she may overshadow his popularity. But I made the statement that this is the first election where the vice president is going to draw more votes than the president. That's on the Republican ticket. Because McCain is an insider, and so is Joe Biden. Joe Biden first got elected to the Senate in 1929, or 29 years ago. He's been in there. So you got McCain and Biden, who were the cause of this problem we've got today. And you've got a tough broad, Miss Sarah Powell, and I took on the big oil companies. You did crap. You took their money. You got Barack Obama, who got paid off by the big investment companies that were spending $700 billion to bail out. By picking Hillary Clinton and dumping Joe Biden, we're going to have the battle of the vice presidents. Woman for woman. A couple of weeks ago on one of my programs, I said I cannot believe the stupidity of Michael Smerconish, the self-promoting guy on WPHT Talk Radio. Why can't we go into Pakistan and get Osama bin Laden, more troops storming the border? You didn't know, Michael, you're asking a whole other ground because you're still saying the same thing. Having senators on, interview me. These idiots don't know that we can't go into Pakistan because it wasn't part of the UN agreement. Do you people know what I'm saying? Are you spreading the word around? Call that nut and tell him why. Now that Musharraf is out of Pakistan, the new Prime Minister made a statement this week that any American soldier that comes across that border, they're going to kill. The Pakistani troops are well trained and well equipped because we trained them and we equipped them under Musharraf at $11 million a month to fight the terrorists coming from Afghanistan, but he used it to build up his army, to have some of the best fighters in that area in the Pakistan army, that if one American crosses that border, Pakistan's going to kill him. Michael, why? Now get on the air tomorrow morning, Michael, and shoot your stupid mouth off, and I dare you to explain to your audience, if you can shut them other two nitwits that work with you, producers, tell your audience why the Pakistani military would shoot Americans coming across the border looking for terrorists or Osama bin Laden. Do you understand my frustration, ladies and gentlemen, with what the hell's going on today?
Want to take a couple questions?
Yeah, we'll take some questions. On our chat room, I'm Irv Homer, broadcasting from IrvHomer.com. Website is www.irvhomer.com. My email, evilirv@irvhomer.com.
This one's from Rick from Doylestown again. Irv, why don't the independents sue the big six antitrust for collusion?
First of all, it takes a lot of money to get into federal court for monopolistic part of the Taft-Hartley Act. Second of all, the independents have been beaten down gradually. It was an insidious virus that these gasoline companies, with the help of the motorists, Rick, the help of the motorists helped destroy the independent service station dealer on the promise if we pump gas ourselves, we're going to save money. So the independent service station dealer was crying in the wilderness. Only voices like mine on the radio trying to protect them was the only thing they had going for them. To go into federal court costs a lot of money. A lot of money. And I remember at one meeting, a banquet, there were a group of people, somebody representing the oil industry, and a lobbyist, that the independent service station dealers were paying in Harrisburg to fight for them. And I forget how many thousands of dollars this guy was being paid. But I was the guest speaker that night, and I asked the independent service station dealers, why are you paying that lobbyist to be in Harrisburg? Well, he's fighting for... Why don't one of you guys, and you're not dummies, you're independent businessmen, successful in your own... Why don't you go to Harrisburg yourself and be your own lobbyist with everybody cooperating behind you? But to get the independents organized, they would rather pay a lobbyist who one day will lobby for milk or lobby for eggs or lobby for three-legged dogs to speak for them. They had no cohesiveness. And you couldn't sue these major corporations because they were big contributors to the courts. They were big. Don't forget, most of our judges in America today are elected. And if you want to be a judge in Philadelphia, you better come up with $10,000 cash of your own to even try to get on the ballot. So the oil companies knew who to buy and who to sell in Congress, in the Senate, in the state legislature. And the independent didn't have a snowball's chance in hell against the Taft-Hartley Act, which is a monopolistic control of the oil industry in America today. That's why, Rick.
And this one is, Irv, I agree with your points. So why is Obama tied or only slightly ahead in the polls? He should be well ahead.
Because the Democrats are stupid, number one. And number two, we are star-oriented. We are star-oriented. And you must remember that the Republicans and the Democrats both have a lot of jobs at stake. A lot of jobs at stake. And in the middle of a war, ladies and gentlemen, people are afraid to change horses. So a lot of people are still afraid that if we make any dramatic change away from our war policy, while we have 140,000 troops over there, with this surge being so successful that they didn't talk about the bomb that went off in Yemen at the American Embassy that killed 10 people and injured 40, or the stock market going in the toilet, people are afraid of change. There's an old saying, some people would rather suffer the indignity of slavery than fight for freedom. And that's why the American voter is sticking so much with McCain and Palin. Cheers.
And another question we had is probably from one of your previous
programs.
No, previous rants
right.
earlier. Irv, are you talking about Bhutto's brother?
Who's now the head of Pakistan?
Yeah.
No, I'm talking about the United Nations. We are not permitted to go into Pakistan. Period. The UN did not sanction it. And the coalition of the willing, 30 guys from Colombia, 10 guys from Venezuela, I mean this great big coalition that we've got, the 6,000 Britons, 3,000 French, they are not permitted to cross the border and go into Pakistan. It makes no difference whether Musharraf is the head or Bhutto's brother or the Congress. We are not permitted, and Pakistan has the right to kill anybody who crosses her border because Pakistan was not in the agreement. And they made a comment which is absolutely true. You ain't no longer the toughest guy on the block when you got a nuclear weapon, and Pakistan has nuclear weapons. And when they said don't cross that border, you didn't hear anybody in the United Nations stand up and say, what do you mean Osama bin Laden was the terrorist of the world? You didn't hear anybody, did you? Because the people that know what the United Nations is, the people that know that the permission the United Nations gave the United States and this coalition of the willing to go into Iraq and Afghanistan, they know that we're not allowed to go into Pakistan. So it makes no difference who rules Pakistan. Unless the United States goes back to the UN with this coalition that we have and asks the UN for permission from the Security Council, of which Russia sits on the Security Council and would probably veto it, we can't cross that border. So there could be Mickey Mouse as the head of Pakistan. We can't do it. But nitwits like Smarkanish don't know that, and some of the nitwits that he interviewed don't know that, and my frustration level is up to the point where I'm ready to start drinking again. Any other questions?
Nope, that's all of them. Wait, one more. Just came in. Frank from Roxborough. I hear Irv say it. This is, what's he saying?
Okay, while we're clearing that up. Troopergate, as it is known as, if the Democrats play it right, will create a big fuss in Alaska. You know the story? That the chief of the state police was fired.
No question.
As a result of the insistence of Sarah Palin, because she didn't like the brother-in-law of her sister. Now the Democrats are going to play that up to the hilt. The vulnerability of McCain and Palin is so unreal, it's unbelievable. But I want to thank, if I were a Democrat, I'd want to thank the talking heads on syndicated radio today. Because if I was an Obama public relations man or lobbyist, I would thank you for mentioning my name every day on your radio station for 3 hours. Now, instead of knocking Limbaugh and Medved and all the other right-wing fake phony frauds, if you would tell us how good the record of John McCain is, going back to the SNL scandal, going back to him being part of the Keating Five, going back to his destruction of the airline industry, all you've got to do is call Arthur Walk, the leading attorney in the country on aircraft safety right here in Philadelphia. Put him on the air. He'll tell you what a fake John McCain is in the Senate. Smirkanis, you afraid to? Giordano, you afraid to get Arthur Walk on the air? McCain ruined the aircraft safety record of the American aircraft industry. This man is a pilot, he's an attorney, flies his own 2 World War II vintage fighter planes, owns them, knows aircraft safety. He'll tell you a story about John McCain and his record as a senator. The Democrats are either too dumb to know it or too yellow to expose it, so you deserve to lose. But the big problem, ladies and gentlemen, is the fact that this program is not syndicated throughout the country. I don't even know whether I want to do it or not. But I made an offer, and gentlemen at the Broadcast Pioneers asked me the question today. The offer stands still. I'll reduce the price. I will work for any radio station up against Limbaugh, Medved, Hannity, Limbaugh for 1 year for nothing. And if I don't beat their ratings, it won't cost you a dime. But if I do beat their ratings, you owe me $1 million. I'm Irv Homer. Thanks so much. Tell your friends about the program. We've got great guests coming up once again. Mark Howard, Cal Rudman, Les Wass, Bill Kearney, Pearl Poulter, Valerie Morrison, Dr. Molly Fantasia. All of this coming up in the future. Tell your friends about it. We enjoy doing it, and we enjoy your support. RGH Computer Services for all your computer problems, all your computer needs. Their telephone number 215-322-8685. 215-322-8685. Go to Walmart and buy your goodies. To hell with the oil companies that make enough money at the pump. I'm Irv Homer, and we'll see you.